Once you succeed,
You should, yeah.
okay, yeah, no.
So how to turn the camera back now?
How do you turn the camera?
No, I'm this YouTube.
The first step to a good presentation is knowing your work, back to back, from this cover to the other cover. I'll tell you something. So this year will make it, this 2016, so this year will make it what? 2026. Make it 13 years I got a PhD, right? Now, in 2013 when I was defending, the way it's done out there, we don't lump defense and have 150 students on one day. No. The external examiner comes to the university just for you. I will say that. So if you didn't day, he didn't day. You're sitting down with somebody, so I will just paint you the picture. In the room on that day was myself, the external examiner, my internal examiner, my two supervisors. How many persons? That's 5 of us. We were on like a round table. And the man brought out my thesis, dropped it on the table, and you will see the places he had put marks. He had put his paper. He had read through it from this cover to the other cover. Now, my supervisor, being someone who had experience, had taken this guy out the day before. So they had dinner together, and she sat down and gauged his thinking about the work generally, having read it. And she saw some places that he was not too comfortable in. So she said, go prepare for this part and that part. So I spent that night to beef up some of those areas that she can just be oversat in that. But when we got there today, so it goes through. I had used 3 theories. One is resource dependency theory, one is stakeholder theory, the third one is game theory. Now, all 3 I can still tell you what they were meant to do in the work. Stakeholder theory, because my study was the nature of stakeholder relationships in the Nigerian oil and gas industry, right? We focus on the 4 majors in the Niger Delta. So Lebura, SPDC, Total, and not Agile. Chevron. And these 4 were picked for the operations in 4 different states. SPDC, Bayelsa, Chevron, Delta, Mobile, Akwa Ibom, and what's the other one? Chevron. Total, Rivers, which is the Eki area. Now, but this is it. So I now had looked at that. The idea was to say communities and others. So when you talk about stakeholders, most times before the likes of Freeman started talking about corporate social responsibility, the focus was on shareholders. And today, some scholars still believe that shareholders are where your focus should be. Are we together? Now, but Freeman and others have come on to say, no, you should look at others that have interest in the operations of that business and influence on how the business operates. So that's where stakeholder theory came in. How do we balance these different interests and be sure that everybody gets what they are supposed to get out? Resource dependence theory was basically trying to look at the concept that he who controls the resources dictates how the relationship goes. So if you find that a community is the only one that has the kind of resource that the company is looking for, that company is likely to be listening to what that community is saying. But the day there's another community that has the same thing they for her, you will find that the balance of the power now favors the company. Are we together? You will remember the 5 forces. How many of you remember Potter's 5 forces? Come on now, this is never be like that. Proximity must have taught you people. Potter's 5 forces, yeah? It talks about rivalry within, internal rivalry, then industry rivalry. Where the policy people, it's only the guys here. Then there's bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, threat of new entrants, Yeah? Threat of substitutes at the bottom here. Yeah? It's my area, so don't flog yourself too much. If I mention the one in your own core area, you don't get that. Yeah, problem. Okay? Now, but if you look at that, I'm bringing that to talk about resource dependence. Resource dependence will also apply here. Because if you have one supplier and you have 4 or 5 companies buying from that one supplier, this supplier controls that relationship. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
If you have 10 buyers and you have one company that is producing for 10 others, you will find that you will have altogether the balance of power in favor of that company. I'm sure you will take it back a bit so that you don't have to be standing. If you take it back a bit, it captures this ball. Yes.
Oh, this is a different.
This is different. This is different.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a doctor.
Okay. All right. So I can continue, Mark. All right. So having said that, that's what resource dependence was to do for my study. And then the last bit was game theory. The whole idea of game theory is that when people go into games, they go in with a presupposed expectation of an outcome that is favorable to them. So at every point in time, everyone undertaking a game wants to be sure of what the outcome will be. There's a game right now going on in River State. Right? Serious game at the highest level. Everyone is looking for the most favorable outcome for themselves. Whether you like it or not, notice of impeachment is not impeachment. It will become less discussed. Are we together? But the bottom line is that the game is the game. And in games, people go into it for outcomes favorable to them. And that the relationships between stakeholders is like a game. And in doing that, we also looked at zero-sum and non-zero-sum games. So zero-sum games are games where for somebody to win, somebody must lose. Are we together? For one person to gain something, it means the other person has lost something. The other flip side is this non-zero-sum games, where we can have a draw. We can have a win-win situation. We can have a compromise. Have a meeting point where we converge and everybody takes something away. But this is the part that we addressed and why I brought this in. At that defense session, my external examiner said he doesn't see where game theory applies. So if you look at my final thesis, you may not see the game theory in it. The final submitted copy does not have game theory. Because talk as much as I tried to, he couldn't see the role of game theory. So I had to stay with stakeholder theory and resource dependence theory because he said he added or removed nothing. I will lose nothing if I don't use it. Now, but we spent 3 hours that day, just me and the external. He was asking page by page. Yes, page by page. Every page that he had a question, he will open to the next slide. See on page this, you are saying so and so. I don't entirely agree with you, but what did you let me start explaining? So we do that for 1 hour, 30 minutes. We have a break. Me and my supervisor go and look at our notes and I'm finding out how am I doing. And she says, so far, so good.
Well, the external is over the TV screen.
He came from another.
That's my wife.
So you did not send something ahead.
No, because it's not where you can send something ahead. No. That's not you go ask now. That's you go ask you to the send ahead. You know. So we talk for 3 hours. At the end of it, is I excused? At some point, I go outside and then he calls me back in and he goes, congratulations. So I stand left and I'm asking myself, my 3 years was just for this one human being to say congratulations. But that's something you must always think about in your head. And that's why I will say, pray when you come for presentation and defense. Something you know nothing about can affect you. When they say the spiritual controls the physical, we don't understand it. Your external examiner can be coming on the day and the man scratches his car that he just bought 6 months ago. And all of a sudden, all of you defending that they are in trouble. He can be almost, as he's entering the hall, he checks his phone, gets an alert, and the thing upsets him. There's a debit alert, no, of course, debit alert. Even debit alert can upset you. If waiting, you expect, no waiting. And then answer it like 20 or 20 million. Do you understand? Now, but the key point is that don't neglect that component. Do your part and pray that God helps you with the rest. A man's wife can upset him. A woman's husband can upset her. And she will pour everything on you. At the point where you're angry, every little thing irritates you. There are people like that. Mistakes that the ordinary will overlook becomes a serious issue on such a day. Are we together? This is not part of what you were thinking you were going to hear here. You wanted to hear 10 keys to unlocking presentation. But these are some of the keys. I told you people before that your project work is 70% dependent on your relationship with your supervisor. I don't know how many of you have seen it by now. If you don't get that component right, your supervisor could deny you in the defense room. And there's something we won't do in academia. We are not going to, except where it's clear and there have been consistent reports, and that's why I always tell those students, every time you have a challenge, talk to the HOD. And fortunately, as we have it now, HOD has now come up with this new, I don't think it's affecting you guys now. Yes, this new form that you have to fill, so that we can basically have the track. There's a trail of when you and your supervisor are meeting. So nobody turns around and says, I've never seen this student before. I don't know whether you understand. Yes, and the student is looking at his supervisor and wondering, like, really? And at that point, you talk a session, my friend, will you shut up there? Okay, so you're saying your supervisor is lying. So no, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that it's not the whole truth. So if it's not the whole truth, what is it? So do everything in your power to smoothing out this relationship. It doesn't matter what it has been before now. This is the last lap. You can do an amazing work and it won't go to rubbish. And there's something about once you are not moving with your class. Are we together? It becomes almost, because of the way our system runs. I've just told you my own system where I keep mine. Nobody does defense with anybody. Everybody moves at their pace when they are ready. In fact, at the point my internal examiner will give us feedback. At one point, my supervisor now said, is this work good enough for a PhD? You man said yes, then no more corrections. We are going. Because the truth about it is that you will never have a perfect work. You will continue to find lapses. You continue to see areas you could have improved on. And that's why it's something done by a human being. Are we together? I think I should stop at this point. No. All right, so yes.
I have a question. At the PhD level, there are
Yes.
3 supervisors. So something happened to me.
Abraham, help me with one bottle of water there. There's water at the back.
One of my supervisors gave an instruction, and then the other supervisor countered the instruction, and then assured me that he was going to clear it with my lead supervisor. And because of how short the timing was,
yes,
I went ahead and did
based on the assurance.
Now, when I got into the hall, my lead supervisor was surprised on the changes. Now, the supervisor who advised me to make the change was there.
Okay.
and he didn't say anything to defend him.
Beautiful.
So I was looking at my lead supervisor. The second one, the third one hadn't stepped in. And so I was just left there and I was receiving bullets. So one man said, talk. Oh. I think it was the Holy Spirit that said, just keep quiet. You know, you're not well, just calm down. But I was really offended and I thought that it wasn't very nice that that happened. Because at that level, I felt the second one would have chipped in. Yes, there was a reason. I'm sorry I couldn't meet you. But it was quiet. And in fact, surprisingly, it was even the HOD that was not pleading on my behalf. That to my lead supervisor, let's have go, no, let's have do this. It's okay. And then he said that all people will not come back and criticize her for this. So in that instance now, this is not external, this is our own internal.
Yes.
What should I have done differently?
Nothing.
I just did it.
I'm sorry. Sometimes you should be able to, the thing is that some of these things it's just like asking somebody if a criminal comes to your house with machetes and you have a gun, what will you do? Right? Because I think they say the law indicates that you must use the same level of force in order to, self-defense or whatever it's called. Now, but you can't say what you will do until it shows up. So I think most times your inner leading should be what you follow. There will be instances where you say, oh, sir, we had a discussion with the second supervisor and he thought, because sometimes the person may have even forgotten the attitude to. Genuinely. So sometimes when you do that thing, he may not remember that, oh yes. To be very frank, sometimes you're in the room there, people are sitting on the panel and they are not there. Right? They are somewhere else apart from that room where you're there. Because that your defense is not the most important thing to them. The same thing we said about debits and things happening on the home front and other places. School fees may be around the corner and this man is cracking his head. But he has to come and sign attendance that he will pay defense. So sometimes you need it. But if your inner living says don't, leave it, help will come. But I think that it's wrong on the supervisor's part. There have been places where I have said, no, I said the student should change it and this is my thinking. And sometimes the board, when they see that there's going to be an exchange, would excuse the students. Have you ever had one to excuse students? Yes. Then we will now discuss, because the idea is never let the students see us disagree. Are we together? So that by the time the students come back in, you basically have had a position, an agreement between the supervisors. Ideally, I don't know how many of you met him, Dr. Ejoyusa, Henry. Okay, you know him. He was our colleague. Died, I think, in the group. Ijoma, come inside. Yes, that dog. Now, Henry was my senior, right? But he was next door. He was sharing office with Ibekwe. So Henry would sometimes carry the students' work and say, Doc, what do you think of this thing? And they would share ideas. And then he'll be like, that's exactly what I thought too. Then he will go back, ask the student to come and see me, or call in the student and we both will exchange. That's the idea of supervising team. 1, 2, 3. And the reason is that you also see, if you see the way you do it most times, we don't want, if you are a policy person, all your supervisors are policy people. Are we together? If you check, whatever your track, you must have a dropping of somebody from another track as part of your supervision team. So if you are a policy and you have 2 policy supervisors, you may have the third person from OB option or the general management side. So it's in our place as supervisors to be able to own up to when we make those corrections. But what I would advise, yes, actually, this is what you could have done differently. You would have stayed with what your lead supervisor said. Please, at every point in time, if there is a clash between the position of the first or the second, or the first and the third supervisor, always err on the side of the first supervisor. Are we together? Because what you will find is that most times our system is not that mature yet, in all honesty. Our system should be matured at the point where, as a professor, you can be second supervisor and a senior lecturer is first supervisor. What's the idea behind supervision? Supervision is supposed to be allocated on the basis of expertise. So if a student is working on corporate social responsibility, and I have done a work on or works on corporate social responsibility and stakeholder relationships, community engagement, and all of that, I should be first supervisor as compared to somebody who has never done any work on that area. But we still have a system where you can be first supervisor the day a professor is added to the team. The professor automatically becomes the first supervisor. It is not global best practice. That's not hierarchy. No. Because there's a reason why somebody is first. The person who is first does most of the work. Okay. Yes, sir. Listen down, sir.
What you're saying is that you did out in my case last year.
Okay.
There was something we were trying to not be sure.
Please help me, Maggie, help me keep me in check with time, yeah? I know so that one more day at 4. Okay.
But written very good.
Yes.
The second person said, have you seen the first one? What did he say? Go and see it.
Yes.
If he says it's okay by him, what exactly what you are just saying?
And what we haven't been able to get ourselves to do is to be having supervision team meetings. So the lead supervisor should be able to, at certain points, if there is an issue that we are not sure of which direction to go, and there's a confusion, maybe my second supervisor is saying something different. I, if I'm first supervisor, should be able to call the other two and say, this is an issue now. On this moderating variable, what do you think? And everybody says what they think. And then as lead, I will also express what I think and we have a consensus. That would work better for the students. Do you understand? We're growing, we're getting there. I'm hopeful that in the next few years we will get there. But the problem is that sometimes, because of the size and the number of students that we have to take on, and the number of persons that supervisors have to supervise part time, it's almost impossible if I have 10 students to be having meetings, and those 10 students are not all going to be with the same 2 supervisors. Are we together? Yes. Those 10 may be with 5 different people or 6 different sets of people. So all you need to do is pay attention to that. It is very important because the board and the panel, the department recognizes the role of the first supervisor, and that the opinion of the first supervisor, if everybody has 1 vote, the first supervisor has an extra 1 vote. Are we together? Because it's expected that you see them more than you see the rest. You see the other people rightfully, but you see them more than you see the rest. But always balance how you manage those relationships. If you met your first supervisor and he was okay with what it was, and you meet the second one and he says changes, most times you could go back to the first supervisor to say, when I saw the second supervisor, he suggested for so and so reason we change this. I'll give you an example. While I was doing my PhD at one point, I took my work to one of my lecturer friends, a Russian lady, and she looked at the work and made some inputs. And I came back to my supervisor to say, this lecturer has looked at this work. My supervisor, the first question she asked me was, why did you take this work to her? So these are 2 women. Yeah? Now, and I immediately sensed she was trying to find out if I'm thinking her supervision was not good enough. And then immediately I said to her, no, you and I have been on this work for so long that we may be so engrossed that we will not see some things. And that's the truth. Have you ever written a work and you never will see that a place where you were supposed to write teenage IS, you wrote And you will never, or you were supposed to do IT, it is, and then you did it as it's. And that's where proofreading comes in. Please ensure that before you submit your last work, if I bring that one now, I will say another one I want to use for level from. If not, for chapter. It's what I used to do in the UK. Do proofreading, charge you by number of words. The bigger your work, the more money. And the thinking, but you can pass your stuff through softwares. There are softwares you can put your work, and it will help you proofread and correct words and points, call your attention to areas where, you know, when you put stuff on the system, your system sometimes will do red on the line. Very important. Because the last thing you want is walking to the hall, and that one page, it's that page that somebody will open. And they just say, can I? And you're so confident anybody can if they like, for your mind. And then they ask you the question, on page 69, please read that sentence. You go, they see the thing now, you know, we just say, I say your work. You don't want that to happen. So if you can run it, not if you can, as much as you can, put it through a software. Paying somebody to read through may be difficult, may be very expensive, but using any of those software, there are free ones around. You just upload the thing, and it will go through and give you what you want. All right. I think I spent a bit of time on that. Bring out your phone. And I will do something to you. Bring out your phone. Let's do this simple exercise. Very simple. Okay. So go to menti.com. Menti.com. For those of you who do tradings, this would also be important. You can utilize it. Menti.com. Yes, you can do your laptop. Menti.com. Just open that listing. Manny, do you have small data there? We can replace it later. So, can we get the listing? Menti, M-E-N-T-I. If you need internet, let's know so that we can also share. Men, N-T-I.com. Men, T-I.com. Are you there? menti.com. Huh? Yes, so the code is 9747. 9747. 9747 4132. 9747 4132. 9747 4132. Nine seven four seven 4132. How many of you have entered? If you are there, raise your hand. Let me be sure. Okay, so you see the first question. What does research mean to you? In few words, maybe like 5 or 6 words. Just write and submit. Write and submit. Menti.com. Are you there? Don't type a full thesis, just fix it. You can read it. Let me see that. You didn't have that. Who wants water while you're doing that? I can help you. Who has lost any? All right, so we have some answers to provide solution to a problem. Finding a better truth or understanding of an information. So as you post, it will appear on the board. As you submit, it will appear on the board. We have 11 persons that are logged in, 12 persons logged in, only 5 are submitted. The systematic investigation. Who typed this one more than others? Who did this?
Now AI.
Okay, the person just go pick up on this. The systematic investigation into and study of materials, resources, and other things that will pass and read quick conclusions. Research means to search for information. Research means a lot. Who's that?
That's a great way, but
It means getting to know new things, finding results, and expanding knowledge. Okay, 13 persons logged in. How many of us are here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there are 17 of us. At least 4 persons in this room have not joined. Can we all join? Everybody join. 3 persons have not joined. The code is 9747. 9747 4132. It's also here. That one is small. I'm writing it here. Once you get to menti.com, so have you joined? You submitted. Have you submitted? 9 persons have submitted, remaining 5 out of the 14 that are on the platform. We are waiting for you. Harry, I did something there. For you to join.
I'm so serious.
Okay, so submitted. Yes. If you are seeing, please wait for presenter to check slide. It means you have submitted. So I will move to the next question. But I want a few more persons to submit. We have 16. One more person. One more person. Who is that last person? Susu, are you the one? Join. Come on. Research is in-depth study of an area of interest. Study and investigation into a concern for academic and human benefits. It's not always academic. Are we together? It's not always academic. Come on now, Susu. Okay, 2 more persons have not joined. Have not completed. Research means fact finding. See somebody go write what does research mean? They ask you that. Let me find trouble. Okay. So I'm thinking maybe we'll move to the next slide. Yeah? In one word, how did you find your research project? Use one word. One word. How did you find your own? It's still on, so I can say how you finding it basically.
Word.
Huh?
You should show now.
I have changed.
Showing.
Click next. Interesting, challenging, exciting. So maybe 2 people have done one of those words. No, interesting. 2 people have done interesting. That's why it's the boldest.
Mine is challenging.
At workplace. No. So that person didn't get the question.
That's our workplace.
Interesting, exciting, challenging at workplace. Who's scholar? Oh, that's you're missing it again. Not where did you find your research stuff. I'm saying, how have you found it so far? How is it? Is it difficult? Is it easy going? Is it challenging? Okay, but it's fine. It's okay. There are 11%. 11% were very challenging. 14%.
Disruptive. Wow.
Interesting. Disruptive. Who be that?
What?
Okay, one more person and then I'll move to the next one. One more person, 97474132 is the code. Now, but with all you can see three standing out.
Yes.
Challenging. So the way this word cloud works is that the more words that people use, the bolder that one will become. So the boldest usually is the one that is popular across the world. This is a kind of presentation used for qualitative studies. So if you're doing qualitative research, for instance, this is how your work, because one way of presenting it would have been to say that you have this number of persons, and that will show it. You see challenging, you see very challenging, you see interesting. As a matter of fact, this is also interesting. So you see that interesting may have been as big as this one. Okay? But very few persons says it's exciting because it is tough. It is hectic. It is sometimes unbelievable how certain parts of your life you have put on pause for these 3 years.
That's why the
Relax. You know I shout yes now.
That's why it says.
Let me send them now.
That's why that person said.
Yeah, if I add that to my own, I get my own already.
Disruptive.
It's disruptive, exactly. I think that's where that one comes
Yes.
in. But that's the point. Okay? So you would see that as challenging as it is, you have to make it worth a while. Next. So far, what part of the research process did you find most challenging? Pick one. Literature review, data collection. I'm sure some people. Oh, there was one I missed that I should have added write-up. Okay, but just use this 5. Supervision, data analysis, presentation. I don't think you can. But check if he allows you to choose more than one. Yes.
Okay, that one is not here. Distribution of questionnaires.
Is he allowed?
What is it? Data collection. Okay, it's under there. Okay.
Data collection.
That's. Online.
You can choose more than one. Okay. Okay. So I've had 9 persons submitted, and presentation seems to be. Okay, data collection is there now.
It's coming up.
A lot of everybody found literature review.
So I say, I don't.
Okay, I see. But I don't think AI is other one then.
No.
AI presentation. Unless it's online. Okay, 3 more persons. Verse 17 here. Just say no. 3 more persons. Come on, guys. Who hasn't submitted? Debbie, have you submitted? Who hasn't submitted? You submitted? Have you submitted? Which one? Okay, that's all I mean. Okay, everybody has joined now. Since have you joined? Ah, now you submit first. Ah, beautiful. All right, so you see at the very top, data collection and this. And this is not taught for nothing. This is possibly not as challenging because there is always somebody that can help you do analysis.
Yes.
But you know the trick with that. If you don't know what they have done for you, please, if you have to pay extra for the person to explain what they did, and you must have, listen, I've said this severally. I don't think I can say it enough. That your methodology is about justification. Simply put, who came from Element Junction? Anybody came from Element Junction direction? Yes, Linka. To get here,
Blue is not here.
one straight route will be about it.
Issue is Obibo.
But if with the game that is on in River State, there is a protest and you meet it from Rumukushi, chances are your driver may divert and hit this West Road. Are we together? Or decide to go through Transamadi. There's a detour now. And you will have a clear justification for why he needs to pass here. Because he did not come out for protest, he can walk. And the longer he stays on the road, the more difficult it is for him to meet his target. The same thing with your study. You decided to do interviews. Why? Why did you not use questionnaire? Okay, you use questionnaire. Why did you choose open-ended questionnaire and not closed-ended questionnaire? Why was your questionnaire semi-structured and not either open-ended or closed-ended? You know what semi-structured is?
Yes, to have both.
It's basically a combination of both. So you have some questions, maybe you ask questions and they've answered, then you will put some open-ended for them to explain why they chose the other option. And please, in this age, don't limit yourself to just hard copy questionnaire. You can do distribution via Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, some of those platforms. And sometimes you're going to get faster and better response rates than trying to have physical meetings where you will give people hard copies. Sometimes you drop the hard copy with the man. It's okay, check back next week Wednesday. As you leave, you put thinking that next week Wednesday, he has time.
But there's a serious disadvantage to that.
With which one?
To
Physical
soft
institution.
Why?
copy.
Tell me.
It's difficult to manipulate your outcome.
It's what?
Difficult to manipulate your outcome.
Please, let's hear you.
Margaret.
No, he's talking about
Did you hear what Margaret said?
You said-
That it's difficult to manipulate your
Challenges
outcome
are
with soft copy.
She's asking you.
That cannot be a problem. That's what we want. Listen, and let me say this. I think we were having that conversation within the week. And I need you to know that your results are not supposed to always compulsorily confirm what has been found before. It can disagree. Are we together?
Yes.
Previous studies may show that there is a correlation between, okay, let's take an example. Incentives, monetary rewards. Everybody thinks that on the surface, monetary rewards are supposed to lead to what? Motivation. Yes? Does anybody think that it doesn't work that way? Huh?
We are told that it doesn't work that way.
No, but the point is that we think generally that once you increase salaries and stuff like that, your people will be more motivated. But studies have shown that it doesn't always follow.
Yes.
First, it depends on the environment, it depends on the company, it depends on the context, it depends on the level. There are people who are no longer looking for money, they are looking for self-satisfaction. They want to be actualized. Yes, responsibilities. They want to be given challenge. They just feel that they've been on one level doing the same thing for 5 years. And then you are saying we'll add more money for you. That's not what the man is bothered about. Are we together?
Yes.
So if somebody now undertakes a study and you are undertaking a study In Nigeria, for instance, the normal thinking would be that if you give person more money, they will. But if somebody is in an environment where, for instance, they have their power, they provide power for themselves, they are not depending on public power. The estate that they find themselves, everything is working. It's structured in a way that everything is available. That man is not going to be too excited with you saying you are adding some money. Are we together? He may prefer a day off or 2 days off. So work 3 days or 4 days in a week, take the remaining days off. Or half day. Or work remotely.
Therefore, you must go office.
That's the topic.
You must go office.
So that's basically it. So what we're saying in essence is that at the end of the day, your work is not only just to confirm what has been found. Your work is to tell us what is the situation as at today on your topic. Your contribution to knowledge could be to re-emphasize what has been said before. Your contribution to knowledge could be to disagree with what authors have found before. And your explanation could be that your context and your environment and your industry is different.
So,
Ma?
this is a practical class. So as much as possible, I think that we owe it to ourselves to be truthful.
Yes.
Now, research has shown that the more your findings deviate from the norm, the longer you are quizzed. And the
Which
longer
research do that?
that's the thing, and the longer you will stay there, both externally and internally.
No, the truth is this. The truth is this. What is missing sometimes is that if you're presenting something and it doesn't look like what is popular,
Yes.
right?
The whole
Of course, it will raise eyebrows.
it won't make you
Because
comfortable.
the person that is querying you, so for instance, over the years, I've had a few students who did qualitative studies. And maybe a class of 50 persons, you may have 2 of my students doing qualitative. When they show up in the room, because their method is different, they tend to spend longer in the room. Because the panel validly, genuinely wants to understand. Because they are not used to seeing this method. But the beautiful side of it is that most times they come out with A's and B's.
So there's no in doctorate.
I know.
Become doctor, you don't become
I agree with you. There's A in doctorate. Yes.
But the people
We
that
many people now.
people that get to this just stay outside doctor.
They answer doctor.
Just be done for carrying the
You know you can fail defense.
Especially when you
Defense is graded though.
Yeah.
And C is not a pass for PhD. You know that one, right?
You fail defense.
We've told people to repeat before. Yes, now. What do you mean, why?
Come to the world.
If you show up and watch your work, especially if your work is amazing, and the person that is standing there is not coming out amazing, it raises eyebrows. We start to question, yes.
That's my intention.
You can have a perfect work, and you can't talk to the work. And everything is on point here. Your argument and but you in talking, you're doing and you know, sorry sir, stage fright. Can I come in? Sorry sir, sorry sir. Sorry sir. It helps nobody. And it's the reason why we're here. But the point I need to make, she has made a point, but the point is this, the truth about it is, and I'm trying to be as practical as possible. The temptation is to just go and recycle something that's familiar. But what you find is that as the times are changing, the workforce is changing. Different components are also shifting. You've dealt with Gen Zs. I just read something the other day. And the Gen Z just sent her boss a message that she can't come to work today. She'll be working from home. And the boss knows why. She said because her chef came late. I mean her cook came late. And she didn't get her proper meal. So she can't come. And that the boss looked at the phone for how long?
And was wondering was
Like, you know that kind of thing, they say, what just happened? Now your generation will look for 20 lines. How your grandmother that died 20 years ago went into heart attack?
Died again.
Who will confirm? You put sickness on your children where there was no sickness. Because but this generation doesn't bloody care. They tell you as it is. If you like, you take it. If you don't like, but you can't do that if you don't bring value.
Exactly.
Are we together? Yes. Your worker that doesn't bring value can't just say, well, I send you a message. For that person to send you that message, you know that there must be that thing, as trivial as it is that they cook came late. You will know that that thing must, if you have emotional intelligence, you would appreciate that this work are not a game like this. For those who watch football, there are players that are not known for falling down. So when they fall, you know that something touched them. Are we together? So please think about it from that perspective. But I think it's important to note that the whole idea of this session is to ensure that there is a match between your presentation. And that's why I will say it again. I think it's one of the questions that I will be asking. You must read your work at least once. At least once. In fact, by the time you read, if you did a presentation before reading it fully, by the time you do another presentation, you will see your confidence level will be different. Then imagine you now do few presentations and practices. By the time you're showing up for the defense, so I showed up for interview at River State University when I came in 2015. I think that was 2014. And we were sat at the former Senate building at the arena. The first thing we saw was that Oguru, I don't know if I've told you that story before, but the man came and they had told us come with 6 copies of your credentials. So he came in and said, you have to go and make 10 copies. All of us stamper and drive. We went to home site, we made 10 copies, came back. He came back 5 minutes later and said, sorry, the panel has just increased. Those of you who have not done, you have to go and make it 12 copies. So I just come from the UK. I just come there and my neighbor said, look, if they don't take 10, you should forget it. He said, really, you know what to photograph? I said, no. I sat there, they those who, almost everybody went and made copies and came back. I entered and they took the pen. Now, but while I was sat there, she's your bara. I don't know if any of you know her. She's the immediate, you know, we have a new HOD. I'm sure you've all heard. Well, I never hear. No. We have new HOD.
Not everybody.
Okay, not everybody is a staff.
So,
Justin, Professor Justin is our new HOD. Yeah. Now, so when Chizu just finished, they just appointed that one brought me to that conversation. And Chizu came in the same year. And Chizu looked at me and they said, you are too calm. What is the secret? I said, the secret is because I know what the outcome of this thing is. The outcome is one of two things. One, the university will say yes, which is their gain, or they say no, which is their loss. So knowing those two extremes, I don't break my head over nothing. And that's why in my time in USA, I've not wasted my life on anything. Because what is not mine is not mine. There's no need to break your head. People, when you see this HOD, people angle, people do this, people move that. Some living thing I have discussed with this. At least I have access to this. As in, we talk one man. If I call and it doesn't pick, he will call me back. But for me, the most important thing is that access. And the ability for you to say, well, go ahead and do this thing and I will do it. Nothing beats that for me. Last year I was in Abuja 2 times for training, tech fund training. One was British Council, one was Stefan. And both trainings, I never asked for it. I was sat in my house, got a message, boy, apply for this thing, go and do this training. That was it. The second one, I was coming from the day we went to bury Professor Amity's elder brother. On my way to Google, my young lady called me and said, you have been scheduled for a training. I said, what training? He said, F1 training in Abuja. When? Monday, 1st of December. I said, which December? She said, this one. It was 2 days away. I rallied my money, went, and school paid when they paid, F1 paid when they paid. What else can somebody ask for? So there was no need trying to angle for, because the truth about it is that if I become a HOD today, I will be tied down. I have to be in school 5 days a week. That's the highest thing I did.
And early too.
Huh? And early too, exactly. By 8 I never wake up. They will come say I will be office. No now. So there are things you don't break your head and bother about. Let's move on to the next one. So you see how important collection, data collection, because you can't analyze what you have not collected. So it's important. Ask your analysis person, what have you done? How did you do it? And then you read up justifications for the methods that you have used. If you are using Pearson, what is Pearson used for? Does it align with what you have done? You use line cut. Does your line cut and your questionnaire and all of that relate to your research questions? Are we together? You can't say for your research questions to investigate the extent to which, and then your questionnaire is doing yes or no. Your questionnaire must reflect very high extent, very low extent, very satisfied, or very unsatisfied, and all of that. And you know that Likert scales are usually 5. Are we together?
Yes.
The worst extreme, and then the next, and then the neutral position in the middle, the best case scenario, and the best test, if I use that word. All right. In one word, describe yourself as a presenter. Shake it that. Who remembers that part? Shake it that.
Mommy, Daddy, shake
Yeah. Just the one word, average, okay? That's good, honest. I want to see excellent. Excellent. Another person has said average. Confident. Nice. So I will just feel this thing, then I will close. Yes. Average. Poor. Child. Please, who is this poor? Let's join hands and pray for the person. Captivating. Sure. Captivating. Yeah, nervous. Okay. We have 9 persons, 10 more persons. Okay. Online guys have joined us, yeah? It looks like. Nervous. 9 persons have submitted. If I get 5 more persons submit, then I'll move on to the next one. Nervous on average. Confident, okay. Okay. Mildly confident.
No, nervous.
That person no one to confident. Mildly confident.
That's me.
Oh, that's the one.
What is the confidence? I don't know what the person said.
Okay, 14 persons. Nervous again. Another nervous. So the majority of us are between average, confident, and nervous for now. For those who have submitted, we are between average, nervous, and confident. I'm hopeful that at the end of our 2 sessions, okay, with each person, we will move from this to somewhere close to this. Okay? At least move from these 2 to somewhere close to this. Confidence is not as good as captivating.
Yeah.
Are we together?
Yes.
You can be confident, but not yet captivating. But it's a good start. It's a good place to start. Okay? All right, next question. During presentation, what part do you enjoy most? Your personal presentation or the question and answer session? I'll be surprised if we have many people enjoying this session. You know how you walk into the room and they say, tell us about your methodology in 5 minutes. Will you keep quiet? Who is likely to say will you keep quiet? No, just tell me. Let's be sure. Who asked you? Okay. We have 11 persons, and most of us will enjoy personal presentation. Huh? Yours has not changed. Okay.
Mine is question and answer.
Some people will enjoy this one. Your own is off. No, I think it should be.
Now you na presentation.
Me na presentation.
Now you like to talk now.
That never was good. When I win, I'm sorry, I go. I don't want to go. You don't ask me any question.
So for me, that question and answer. My question will neither be here.
Just never believe what you go ask. I go ask me about that. Shoot me up balance.
Ask me the question. That's true.
Only you present, go ask me for chapter 6. When you, and I don't believe you say, I want to
If you don't like
I don't
answer, you need to read your work.
Eh?
You need to read your work. I make. Question and answer, you determine. If they talk small, they wait. You calm yourself down. So is it that fair?
Okay, so 14 persons, personal presentation, more persons of personal presentation. How many times have you read your work? Pick one. The one you have done so far. Once, twice or more, not finished reading it, not finished writing up. And so put it now, say you never finished
My
writing.
reference never come out. Try again, something like
You said the one you get 9 they read. Nice.
who be the people they write once? Somebody that start the presentation.
Hey, who are the 5 that have read it once?
When they come present.
Okay, you read yours once. Yinka, you read it once. Okay. Ijoma, okay. That's 4. So we have 4 people that 5. Okay. The one he has done, I done it once. Alright. Now, but it's important. I think I've said this before. By the time you finish your work early, and please, as much as possible, do the write-up yourself. As much as get help. You've not done this before, so you can't do it on your own. But as much as possible, be a part of it. Because the writing process itself is reading time. Are we together? By the time you now read, by the time you read it from the end, in the beginning to the end, when you are done, that would be like a refresher course. Then imagine you're able to find time to read it yourself. It can be boring. It is crazy boring. If I tell you it's going to be exciting, nothing exciting about it. You have done homework for going to 2 years. So there's no way it's going to be that exciting. You just can't wait to finish it. But do something that you'll be proud of. You are not going to be very excited about all your work in the next 2 years, because in the next 2 years your knowledge level would have grown, and you will see some lapses, you will see some mistakes, especially if, for instance, you get into academia. You will now begin to see loopholes. But so long as it's good enough for us to say congratulations, that's what you want at this point. Don't seek for perfection. Don't seek for perfection. Like Maggie said, there is no first class here. So the only difference is that people finished on time, some took too long. That's the difference between the two. There's no good PhD, no bad PhD. Your good or bad PhD will show in your performance, and what, when you speak, when you write, people will now begin to judge your PhD by those things that you do. I've told you separately that I go to some places and I introduce myself as someone, and somebody will shout, "I'm a doctor." Because in my head, when I start talking, you should not be able to tell that this guy, be like as if ordinarily introduce himself. Are we together? Of course, there are places where you need to prove your credibility by throwing the doctor in their face. In some cases, don't even use doctor, use PhD, so that they know it's not native.
I'm not honorary. I'm not honorary.
I don't understand. What's wrong with honorary?
Nothing wrong with what?
I'm not honorary.
So
I'm not honorary.
that's not before. That's not before. Okay, so try and read up your work. Are you sure of your contribution to knowledge?
Yes.
Very sure. Make the one that you I like the way they decide. I like the way they decide. Yes, very sure. Very sure. Okay.
Yes, I'm quite sure, man.
Who has water?
Yes.
Yes. So you came with your dimension and measure. You came with water. Drink.
And they're asking us, they're giving us our scorecard.
Who?
No, rate this night.
Okay. That's finished. Everybody is sure except one person. God will bless this person.
Amen.
God will bless you for being honest. And God will move you to this place.
Amen.
And move some of these people to this place. No, I like the way you people are faithing it. Faith is at work here. I can tell that half of these people are by faith.
And the person who is not sure why.
The person has an idea. So, from the person,
Why? So that
no,
we
what
go
is
change
best
our
start
mind.
from asking those who know. Those who are sure. Where they take this sure and it is sure. Okay? All right. So I think that's the end of that particular presentation. Now, that shows you that there are a number of things that we know already. So you are not dunces, you are not geniuses. You basically have an idea of what is required. All I'm just going to do is share with the tips. I think we've done a lot already, just with what we call. What I want to do now is just share a few things with you, and then we'll just take questions and answer. Between now and Tuesday, it will be important that we indicate which of the days, Friday or Saturday, for those who came late, Friday or Saturday. We would have that session at my office in England. So you also know my office. And by the way, this place is available in case you need it. Let us know so that we can have a conversation. It's owned, okay, so the person renting this place is one of our former students. That's why I keep telling my colleagues that relationship is everything.
Very, very important.
No, I keep saying that relationship is everything.
Even after school,
This guy finished about 4 or 5 years ago. Right?
like
In fact, every time I go to
my German.
the first time I went to Nigerian content development and management board in Bayelsa to do training, it was him that took me to Bayelsa to do training. So from time to time, I do interview. In December, I was here for 2 days. Entrepreneurship training, and those 2 days were 400K. Basically. Yeah, for the 2 days, each day 200K, each day 200K. Now, but the point is, if I had emphasized on collecting from him while in school, we won't have this relationship. I will even know what he does. I will never know what he does. Because what I found is that you guys know that those who are focused on the money, you just show them the money, you don't show them where it comes from. They don't get to know you to the point of knowing what you do. So if you need this space, we have a space just opposite the craft center, and I need to do a few more things there. So our rent, we need to renew it. So I said, okay, I will take those 2 days and put here whatever would have gone into getting a space, especially because the size of persons that we're expecting for 2 days are not going to be everybody. So I'm anticipating that we will have 11 persons on Friday, 11 persons on Saturday. Okay. Just opposite Craft Center, there's an ash building. I'll send the address, 3 Babel Street, opposite Craft Center, first floor. Okay. All right. So this was the agenda. I will just briefly, this will be one, I've done part of this 1 hour, and then we'll have an interaction for possibly an hour. This our practical session will be the one for next week. So next week will be a continuation. What do you see? Okay, minus this text. What do you see?
Some symbols. Symbols.
Okay. Blue color. Yes, colors. Yellow circle. Yellow circle, yes. Does anybody see the wine cup?
Yes.
Now, the things you are like catching your attention are reflections from the wine cup. When the light hits it from this side, it gives you these 4 angles. So if you see just here, you will think that the shape that is showing is a reflection of a rectangular object. If it shows you just here, you will think that it's a round object. Here. And that's where that's how your research is. Your research is a function of perspective. We may think we know your topic, and you show up with a different angle that we have never thought about. And it's not a bad thing, so long as your data and your findings can show us clearly how you got here. You can do a study today on motivation, and somebody else. I think I've told you about Hesberg. You know, Hesberg did a study on 2 factors, where he talked about motivators and what do you call it, satisfiers. Yeah. And in his list, salary was not a part of motivator. But if you look at contextually, he was talking from an environment where everything is available. If you have healthcare, and down to your phone, you can take it and pay instrumentally. You do a deal like they do in the UK, for instance. So that's why when people travel from abroad and come here and carry the latest iPhone, don't feel bad. Sometimes they just collect them before they come to Nigeria. They will be paying for it for 18 months, sometimes 24 months. And then you are sitting down, so this guy, Joy! Now my mates have gone far. You have been under unnecessary pressure for nothing. But if you're in that kind of setting, and then you are not thinking of buying fuel, the guys out there don't know what it means to get bottle of gas. The closest chaps that have that are people in LNG and
You people like have a gas pipe.
the guys in LNG highway don't know what gas bottle
That's why the kitchen there.
because gas is
Yes.
routed to your
The
house straight.
the houses.
You won't be talking of borehole. Like don't come go pump water out.
Nothing like that.
The first day they took life for 5 seconds in Coventry, we literally called Nigeria. And so, but they don't take life on UK because it was strange.
Oh, you went to Coventry.
Yeah? I didn't go to Coventry, but I used to
You
go to
live
Coventry.
there.
I was in Leicester. I was always in Coventry. All the Nigerian students events, I mean the MCM for Coventry. Yeah. Now, but this is the point. So what you then find is that perspectives differ, context differ. A study can be done in banking sector, and that is why it is important. Do not copy wholesale another work that was done. If you're now looking at the case of, I think one or two of you may have had that kind of scenario when we're doing seminar and proposal, where you come with a topic and they ask you something like, does this thing you're saying happen in that sector? Like you're talking of prevalence of strike, and then you pick one sector that never goes on strike. Banking hardly goes on strike. Hardly. Once in a very long time, you will hear the banking union talking of strike. Doctors are always on strike. The barber of them all is Penderson. Oil and gas. Come on now. You have to go there. ASU is another one that does strike. Institutions. So context matters. Perspectives matter. Your work and what you're presenting always admit is one perspective of what is out there. And that's why your work is not what will conclude and solve all the problems of motivation or employee effectiveness. It is just one angle. It's the reason why your statement of problem usually should start, like I've said before, with your what? Which are the variables? Your dependent variable. A dependent variable. It's usually the one where you should be writing your statement. Your problem derives from that one. It is from that one that you're now trying to solve, look for a solution. And then there are several other variables that you could have used. Then you chose one, which you now call the independent variable, to see if it can help to improve or resolve that problem. So you see that there are other variables that if you have used, the context and the perspective would also be different. Are we together?
Yes.
Now, this was intentionally placed here so that you feel hungry.
This young guy is himself.
No, it's not yet time. We're getting close to item 7. But the item 7 is not serious. It's a very light item 7. So that you can. No, there's no burger. There's burger here. You can snap this one. Okay? Now, I always like the picture of the burger for obvious reasons. The burger has 3 components. And like I've said severally, you may have heard me say this before. If you have a burger that doesn't have the top, it is not burger. It's burger. If you also have it, it doesn't have down, it's also not burger. If it has this top and this top without an end filling, that's not, it's bread you're eating. Yes. That's how your research is. The first part of your study is always things to do with literature, research, and research methods, which is up to your proposal point. Your data analysis and report writing is the second component. And the third component is your presentation. If these three are not there, you've wasted everybody's time. And you must get each component right. Because the interesting thing about research is that the last step feeds into the next step. This step feeds into the next step. If you don't get your introduction right, you don't get your literature search right, you don't discuss the theories that are relevant to your study, you will struggle when it comes to methods. When you now need to do analysis, your methods are supposed to help you decide how best to collect and analyze your data. So this is actually data collection and analysis here. Then it is what you have analyzed based on the right methods, the relevant methods. I've always said this, that not all studies can be undertaken with quantitative.
You don't forget what we're
Not all. There are some studies that you can't use quantitative, you have to use qualitative. If I want to ask your perceptions about today's program, I cannot be asking you and putting, because some of you may say, it was okay, but the moment you introduce bets, it means that that question cannot be answered by just numbers. Are we together? So, then your report writing becomes important. Your discussion is where, like I said earlier, you are able to show that based on my findings, it confirms what Freeman 1984 had said about stakeholders. Or it confirms to an extent but disagrees to another extent. You may come up and say, not all those people Freeman referred to as stakeholders, or stakeholders are not just those groups. There are more, or they are fewer than the numbers that he gave us. And then you must present what you have found. And one other way to present is to publish. Of course, you know that you have to do 2 publications as part of your process of it. If you don't do 2 articles, you can't get this PhD. You know that. But I listen at you. It's as serious can be. I just want more. Now, 2 from this time as you are doing this work. From your work, you should have at least 2 papers. Okay, so we want a full burger. We want everything from literature search up to publishing to have a complete package. Now, there are 3 broad categories of presentations. We have academic, which is a product of research projects. It is usually aimed at a diploma or a degree, so there's usually a certification that comes out. It is dependent on an examiner or a panel. So first, for our case, you will start with a panel. You will also have a panel during external, but it will be dependent more on that one individual who is referred to as an external examiner. Then you have professional presentations. This has to do with your career or job. When you're looking for a contract or you want to get a job, when you want to woo prospective investors or business partners, they will be the ones you're trying to impress. In this first case, you're trying to impress an examiner or a panel. In this other case, prospective investors or business partners. And then the third one are any other time. Okay, you may not be about jobs, contractors, and applications. In that scenario, it's about the budget. Talk about church, for instance. You do a presentation in church. They call you now and say, we hear you are finally doing a PhD in relational behavior. Please come and talk to us about this topic. Right? And then you go there and you finish there. You literally finish there. They are like, we don't say when you come to school, we know the talk. Okay? Now, but this is about focus. The focus is on what? Academic presentations. And what's the objective? Just 4 things we are listing here. To publicize findings of a research project, to show knowledge of a particular topic, to convince your examiner or panel, and finally, to get that certificate. If you do all these other two and you don't get this one, we won't be convinced that you really need this other two. This is like a receipt. You know how you eat in the restaurant and you get one toothpick just to advertise to people in the office that you have done so. This is like your toothpick. And most times it's reflected on the day of celebration. Now there are people that you will have around you who are not satisfied with the fact that you throw your cap and wear gown and snap and do studio sessions. They want to see the brochure. Do you have friends like that? We don't finish. Thank God. Why don't approach you now? Yes. And so you must, your father will do that. So for some people, you will find your name, mark it, if possible, fold so that you know go stress them. For some, you go snap and now send to them. Although some people still will say that one AI. So this is what it is. And that's what we're looking at. So what do we do? Some teams, number one, know your subject. Read your dissertation, in your case, your thesis, very well. And then read widely around your topic. Read widely around your topic. Prepare your presentation. Bullet points are amazing when it comes to presentation, academic presentations. You see, like these things now, I could be on this slide for 2 hours. The mistake you will now make is you now put bullet points and you say, ensure that you are using just bullet points. That sentence is not necessary for this slide. And like I've always said, the more text you put here, the more the temptation to read what is on there. Are we together?
Yes.
Because these points are just to remind you the things you're supposed to be talking about. What's the next point? What's the next point? In some cases, you don't even talk about all, depending on the audience, the context, the time you have left. Like you see that I had spent a number of time discussing this reading your work. Are we together? So I didn't need to overflow it again. Because even when we were doing the survey, the quiz, you will see that we also brought it up. So you have to be that sensitive to know what has been discussed before that you just need to mention and move on. Then use the right colors. Black and white mostly works. And also watch your text. The more text you have in a presentation slide, the smaller it is, the more difficult it is to read. Always remember that. The next thing is that you also must consider font size. Consider graphics. Graphics should only be used to better project or present what you're trying to communicate. Yes. Don't just throw in pictures for the sake of it. Pictures are better if you're doing a qualitative presentation. If you're doing quantitative and you're dealing with numbers, your pie charts, your whatever, just to show, a screenshot of the output from SPSS, for instance, where you did analysis and all of that. Those things you used to put as appendix, 1 or 2 of them, not all. The major ones that are important. Colors are not too, don't make it too colorful for an academic presentation. Just the same way, don't make yourself too colorful on the day of the defense. Please, timing is important, is it? Why do you spray? You have to spray, please.
Wow.
Please. Because the space is likely to be a congested space. Okay?
Before you move,
Yes.
the perfume.
The perfume? How?
After you enter
No, say it so that we can address it. By the time you enter,
Oppressing people.
and then don't use the one that will oppress people. Use another one for that day. Yes.
You said something that you are a specialist on your topic.
Yes.
I'm asking us question when you
I'm getting there. I will get there. No, don't ask me yet. I never talk about it.
You just deliberately off the AC there so that when you come, you sweat.
No.
Feel now.
Sometimes AC is on and you'll be sweating.
Even from the beginning, okay.
Yes. As I came here and I noticed how they sweat. And they sweat. How you gonna say you know they see
No,
am?
you know they sweat.
No, that sweat different. This one now, I know they grade me now. Do you
Even
understand?
when the AC is on, it's not that they
Yes, it's possible.
They don't make the place deliberately
No. We can't do that. We're not that wicked. Come on, Maggie. How they see us?
It's sweat, sir. The sweat will be here.
I know it happens. You know, anxiety can do a lot. Tension generates it. I'm telling you. Because you have the fear of the unknown. And let me tell you this, I've said this before and I will say it as many times as I have to. Whichever professor you know, no matter how long they've been professors, every time they have to do a presentation, they have tension. They may not look like it because they are used to it. Every time we come to class, there is an element of tension, fear of the unknown. Because you don't have total control of how things will pan out. So always remember that. And you're no different. But what you can use to manage that fear of the unknown and that tension is your preparation. Timing and practice, I haven't talked about that. Please, practice. You can't practice too much. What you find with practice is every time you do it, you add another layer of confidence. Every time you do it, you add another layer of confidence. Because sometimes every time you do it, you find a better way of doing it. Are we together? What I just did with you now, that you feel that quiz, I wasn't used to doing it 2-3 years ago. But I got to know about it at some point. And I think it helps to keep the audience engaged. People feel like they are part of the conversation when they have to feel this thing. And they're seeing the results. You're not going to say, later, I will tell you what you know. Or you're the one reading it and say, this person. It is there on the board. As you drop it, your own shoes. So practice. Anticipate questions and get ready for them. This is another thing practice will do for you. Practice amongst yourselves. And be open to, there's one thing students used to do in class. When we do group presentations, like when we did for your class, you will find that people will be conscious not to ask their colleagues the question, even when they have a difficult question to ask. Because make that person not return the favor. In this case, ask your colleagues question. There's nothing as sweet as you are being asked. Politicians do that a lot. They react, like you see them come on channels and they send them questions ahead of time. And then they will strike out the one they will not touch. This one is no go area. Don't even, if you mention it, will end the interview. What is that they want to control and make it be in their comfort zone? And that's what you want to do. Get somebody to look at your work. Pick out the areas that are so likely to attract interest and questions. And when your supervisors ask you questions, they are not trying to rubbish you before you come for defense. And if you're honest with yourself, sometimes you come to the panel and the exact questions your supervisor has been asking is what people will be asking you. Because the principles are fundamentally the same. So, as is one way to get ready is find out what are the likely questions that will come out. You have undertaken a study in a sector. How is your sector different from why is this topic more relevant to this sector? You should know why. Or you should have an opinion. on that. Then be relaxed and confident. One reason or one way is to maintain eye contact as much as possible. If you notice while I've been talking, I look across the room from time to time. And sometimes me and your eye will jam. Are we together? And it's a good way to do it. But the trick is if you find a corner in the panel where there are people who are looking like they are with you or they are smiling more, be looking in that direction. Telling you the honest truth. You feel more at home when you're looking. Not when you're looking at somebody and you just do like that. And then maybe you're seeing you see and finish. That may not be for you, but already you're disorganized because you're feeling like I'm waiting and don't talk again now.
Charles.
Remember, you are the specialist on your topic. Charles, here we come.
He's not listening, no.
Now, most people, you're taking impeachment. He said it's a wedding.
Weekend.
Never you think that though. Now for weekend they swearing people. Before we know they do it. Election will happen on Saturday, Monday we will not consider any. But these days, every day is a working day. So you can check my brother. But you are specialist on your topic. And the point is that even your supervisor may be working on that topic for the first time. You may be the one opening their eye to some aspects of that topic. It is why sometimes they ask you some of the questions and you wonder why this man they ask you don't know the answer. He honestly may not know. And the same thing with the rest of the persons, even your external examiner. There's no way an external examiner comes and he would have done something about all the topics in the room. It's not possible. Not possible. In some cases, he may have supervised a student who did that topic, but it's still not the same as you undertaking that topic as a research. Of course, if you do proper supervision, you will know a bit about your students' work. Because the times you read, but this is difficult. If I have to read 10 words, 15 words, I'm reading that for PhD alone. Then I'm reading about 20 for MSc. Then I have to read about 15 for PGT. Then I will still teach all the classes and still publish to get promoted, present at conferences. So you now see why ASU will ask for increment. And the reason why some of us think that sometimes we over-admit even on the PhD and PG programs. Honestly, ideally, your class, for instance, should not be more than 10, 15 persons. Max 20. One, because there's something called carrying capacity. Not everyone who is a lecturer and has a PhD qualifies to teach on the PhD program. Not to talk of supervising PhD. So, you're the specialist. The more interesting your topic looks, the more new your topic looks, the more time you might likely spend. The secret to it is if you know your work and you're able to, your introduction is always very important. There are people who walk in and they flash their topic, flash this, flash this, flash this. They just it's okay, this one don't work. And they just ask you for a few questions. And you're out of the place. But if you enter and they say, tell us about your topic, 4 minutes later, you're still booting.
Most times,
Yes.
as soon as you're entering, you say, no, sir. Go straight to question.
Yes, sometimes it can happen. And sometimes that's where the people that went in before you may be the one that caused that problem for you.
Yes. Just come and answer.
Because in between earlier people, they gave them time to talk and it looks like they were wasting everybody's time. And we've done that for a number. What they may now do is dependent on who it is. Professor Jaja sometimes may just go towards asking you questions. You understand? But the thing is this, when you do external, it's not going to be the same. External will give you time to actually talk about your work, maybe 5-10 minutes. And it's important. Please, if you have never looked at speed networking, go look at it, look it up. There's what they call the elevator pitch. Elevator pitch is where you meet somebody in the lift. The lift does not stay between floors. Between the ground floor and whatever place you're going to is less than 5 minutes. It doesn't, no matter how high the building is. In that space of time that you're with that person in that lift, in your head, you're going to spend less than 1 minute with that person, or max 1 minute, 30 seconds. In those 90 seconds, how are you able to communicate what you want to tell the person? And be able to, if not convince them, get a second meeting. Get phone number, exchange your own, such that they should be able to reach you in the shortest one, or when you call, they are able to say, we remember you. But you must say something that would show the importance of what you're saying. So think about it that way, and know that you're not always going to get 10-20 minutes to come in and do, like I was saying. Just as I was about to say, where was I? No, you don't have that time. Then explain your point, but don't be too defensive. Please, this is important. You're not in a fight with the person asking you a question. The person may not like you and may throw the question to throw you off balance. It's your job sometimes to say, sorry, sir, can you take the question again? As you're doing, can you take the question again? You have heard the question the first time, but you are preparing your answer while he's asking it the second time. And if you don't know it, honestly admit that no, I have not looked at it from that perspective. Yes, please. Yes. But if you don't know, it does not apply to core aspects of because I'm saying that people can ask you questions around your topic that are not mainly your topic.
Okay, not the core.
No, the core of your work, you must know it now. But somebody may give you an angle that you have not looked at. Nobody says that you're going to be 120% perfect on all aspects of your topic. But the biggest problem is something that is inside your work, and somebody opens and asks you a question, and you say, no, sir, I don't. In fact, we've had cases where they will ask, someone will say, did you use this method? And the student will, no. And they say, do you have your work there? Yes, sir. I go to page 69. Read that third sentence there. And you look at it and you're, oh, I'm sorry, sir. No, read. Don't be sorry yet. Read. The importance of knowing your work.
So what if you don't know that one? What do you do?
Which one?
Your work.
The one that's in your work. No, you should know it. You should know it. At that point, if you don't know it, then you are at the mercy of it. Amen. But the key thing I need us to get here is when you explain, don't be defensive. When you ask questions, we want an explanation. We want a justification for us to be able to say, this person, okay. Instead, you may not be 120. See, the truth is, you can be as good as I am. Why? Because I've done this a few years. Now, if you look back in another 3-4 years, I don't expect you to be at the same level you are today. Because as you read, as you practice, as you have opportunities to express yourself, you get better. So don't overburden yourself. I remember being in that interview, and Professor Toby asked a question, and I answered as I should. And he said, no, you're not correct. I said, anyway, Prof, you're a professor, I'm just a doctor. So I expected your knowledge to be better than that. That ended that argument. There was nothing we were trying. I was looking for a job. He was on the panel. to give that job. Whether he was right or wrong, that's not the place to tell you. Are we together? Because when you prove finish, one or two may agree with you. But when you step out, the panel will now sit back and say, that one will never enter, don't they already they argue with us. But if you stay here, if that coming first, a petition every day. Okay? So don't be too defensive. Defend your points. Present it as politely, as nicely as you can. You are not in a battle with anybody. All right, sorry. Introduction yourself. You see that thing I was saying about proofreading? Yes. So that is, you should introduce yourself and your work. And then the chapter flows are usually like this: your introduction. What is this study about? That's the summary of what your introduction. Right? We'll make I bring it all out for those who listen. What's this study about? Literature review. What are the key thoughts about your topic and who are the key authors? There are topics and you must know who the top 3 or top 5 contributors to your topic are. If you're doing mentoring, there are people names that people want to hear. If you're working on leadership, there are people. If you're working on emotional intelligence, there are names that we want to hear. Mary, what did you say was that your topic? Remote working. Yes.
Remote work initiative and employee
Well-being. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, so this is my take. When it comes to a presentation, it's not always compulsory that you have abstracts. When it comes to presentation, you don't need an abstract. Are we together? You just put your introduction. Under your introduction, you're likely going to just do background of the study, 2-3 points. Statement of the problem, 1 point. 1 point. Employees are found to not have good well-being. And as a result, sometimes their productivity levels are low. Hence, we're trying to look at remote working as one of the variables that can help us improve. That's a statement of problem. All the 1 page, 2 pages, waste of space. Your statement of problem must be straight to the point. No beating about the bush. No citations. Don't cite any author in your statement of problem. Say what the problem is. And I've said before, your problem is with your dependent variable. Tell us what that problem is. And don't forget, it's always important if you can link it back to how it affects organizational performance, organizational productivity. Even if that's not your dependent variable. Because it is always about that. It's about the organization. Something is not right. And I think one of the things affecting this thing that is not right is employee creativity. That creativity can be influenced by organizational structure. And that is why we are looking at organizational structure to see if it can help us improve employee creativity. Chicken. Once you've done that, then I'm still talking about introduction. You move on to talking about the number of research questions, number of hypotheses. You don't have to list all. You can just mention the number. Even on your slide, you can have 9 hypotheses, 9 research questions, 3 objectives. Your objectives, you can list the 3 and just quickly run through it to see the relationship between this and that, and to see the relationship with all of this within so and so context, which is your industry. Now, if you do this thing, you will see that you can do this in less than 2 minutes. And you must prioritize for every stage of the defense. Like this stage that you're getting into now. We are not too bothered with introduction, literature review, methodology. We are bothered with how did you do analysis and what did you find? What is your conclusion? What's your conclusion? Under that, what is your contribution at this stage that you're going to now? So when you enter, you shouldn't be spending too much time. You should show knowledge of those different chapters. Show knowledge of your introduction. Show the different components. For instance, you want to bamboozle them. When you're done, you should be able to tell, I need to clarify the fact that there are limitations with this study. And you put it out there. And this study, it has a scope. 3 types of scope. The first one is the geographical scope. The second one is this other scope. The third one is what? Unit of analysis. It is important to know your unit of analysis. Your work is either macro or micro. When it's macro, is what?
Organizations.
How many of us agree that macro is organizational? Micro is organization. Macro is what?
No. Macro is organizational. Micro is individual.
I know, but when it is macro,
So it's not
One now.
No.
Yes, one after the other.
when you say macro,
Yes.
talking of
The industry.
the industry itself. When you say macro, you're talking about
Organization.
Okay, what is size when it's micro and macro?
then I think it's variables.
Okay, yes. Variables. One. Who else?
The number of persons, the population of persons.
That's another factor. So the population is another factor. Who is filling your questionnaire or attending to your interview? If you do interviews, your studies are, if it's just interviews, your studies are more likely to be organizational. So you don't even need large number of people. If you're doing surveys, chances are your study will be micro. Are we together? Now, once you say macro, it means that you are looking at things from the organizational point of view. So, for instance, you want to understand organizational performance. It is not also cast in stone. You may have a case where you're looking at organizational performance, but from the point of employees. So that will now change the dynamics of your study to micro. Organizational competitiveness and not the micro.
One organization against the other.
Huh? No, say that again.
Yes, you're correct. Speak with confidence.
No, I said because you're dealing with one organization against the other.
Yes, you're basically looking at organizational perspectives to the idea of competitiveness. It's macro. And not everybody can feel that questionnaire. You're going to have people at the middle or top level.
Supervisors or
Mostly people with respect. And not all managers can discuss competitiveness. Are we together? So you must think about those things and use that understanding and look at your work again. So remember what I said, throw in scope, throw in limitation while you are just dropping things around hypotheses, things around research questions. You don't need to list all, just tell us the numbers. Not finished that. Literature review. Who are those that have written about your topic? What have they said? You don't also have to give up. Your list can be on the board. You can have a few names on the board and the different things you say. This person in 19 has said this. Like Freeman had talked about stakeholder, and he started the whole conversation. But beyond that, others like Carol and just list a few names and also talk about on this other. So remember what you're doing here is that you're basically doing a conceptual review. That's where you talk about the theories that you are using and how they apply. So we use so and so theories. You can list those ones and move on. Then you get into methodology, talk about your population, talk about your sample size. Yes.
I want to ask a question.
Yes, please.
When some people explain the meaning of gap, study gap,
To start your
sometimes they sound as if it's the problem, statement of the problem of the statement, or it is the limitations of the statement. Is it a combination of both, or it is one?
Okay, so it can draw from. Research gap is where you're now citing what others have done and the extent to which they did not cover. Are we together? Did you all get what I just said? Statement of the problem is focusing on how you reach the decision of doing this work, because there's a problem with the dependent variable and you want to now test the independent variable against it to see whether there will be an improvement. Research gap is that authors are focused on just these aspects of this topic and have not really, looked at this other part, which is where I want to now cover. Are we together?
So,
So you can draw your statement of the problem from your research gap,
The research,
but the way it is presented will be different. Because under research gap, you're making reference to previous authors. Under statement of the problem, you're just telling us that there is a problem that has been found with so and so.
so the gap can be the limitations.
You said
The gap can be limitations.
that will not necessarily be the limitations. Remember, your limitations are what you went through
On the field.
while you were undertaking the work.
No,
Yes.
unit of analysis.
Huh?
Unit of analysis, you didn't go through it, you decided on how you were going to conduct.
No, but it's not part of your limitation. Unit of analysis. It's part of your scope. It's the third leg of your scope. The first leg is your
You mentioned
geographical.
3 things under limitation.
No.
Unit,
I finished limitation and moved on to say you can also talk about scope. And I mentioned 3 steps under scope. I said geographical area. I talked about unit of analysis and then content, right? Which is talking about this will be based on management and blah blah blah. Okay. Now, then methodology we've said population, sample size, and then we talk about method of data collection, method of analysis. Somebody may ask you a question around reliability and validity. You must know those. For quantitative work, you must know how you got all of that. Do you understand? Then after you've done that, you move on to your analysis and findings. Here, you're just telling us we use those and so methods, and these were the findings that we found. Your findings must be able to confirm, answer your research questions, and provide, a response to your hypothesis. Are we together? Then once you have done that, you now take it beyond just presenting what you have found to discussing the relationship, the link between your findings and what you had previously reviewed. What other authors have what we said before. I've spoken for more than 1 hour. The conclusion and recommendation. Remember, you cannot recommend without concluding. You first must conclude and then you recommend. And it's not supposed to be too much. You're not doing too much talking here. You're basically just keeping it short. Then you must add your contribution to knowledge. And I've said this before. Contribution to knowledge does not mean that you must give us a new way of doing something. No. You may apply something that has been done in another sector. A study has been undertaken in banking before, and you are now looking at that same study but in oil and gas. A study has been done in Europe. Nobody has done it in Nigeria, to the best of your knowledge. It has been done in other parts of Africa. It was done in countries that do not have oil and gas. We want to now test it in countries that have oil and gas. So there are different variables that can qualify to make for contribution to knowledge. Your job, they are not supposed to remain 1, 2, 3 max is enough. But you must know it like you know your name. Are we together? One of my contributions for my work was that I were able to look at conversations around CSR, not just from the point of community projects, but from the point of it being what helps community and companies to manage their relationships with their stakeholders. So, as I finish, checklist. On yourself, you must know the date and time and venue of the presentation. People have missed presentations and events before because they mixed it up. Always check. If possible, technology will help you put an alarm 2 days, 1 day, okay? 1 day to 1 week to 2 days to. Just set them like that. Best attire for the day. Get your attire ready early. No last minute. If you pick an attire 1 week to the time, I don't see you adding too much within that 1 week so that I know the food I have. Unless you were partying every day. Okay? But if you're preparing for presentation, I'm not even sure you really get time because you don't really remember that, right? So make it clean, make it ironed, and get the right colors, not too bright colors. Yes. You can, but you're not going to defend. Because what you're doing here is more like a business school. It's just people like us that will even allow you to donate. People like us will allow you to wear senator, for instance. Yes, I've seen that happen with you. But everybody else thinks that when you're coming for this kind of things, you dress sharp, you must look formal and corporate. Huh? They are sharp, but not in that way. They are sharp in a certain way. Yes.
I think that aspect of wearing well and wear them, like what you're wearing them, is for them.
Yes.
Which allows for
That's true. It's just that somebody has.
I agree with you. But are you going to pause your PhD until we start aligning with the diagram? Or you want to get the PhD, then maybe come into the system and see if you can help us.
After making publications that
That will make us now say, let's
That
diagram.
can even be a research topic.
yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Know about your examiner if possible. Sometimes you may not know the person, but sometimes information may filter in. If the information filters in, do a simple Google search. Have an idea of this person's background. What's their area? What kind of methods are being used for their research? Before you come, because that helps you know the kind of questions they are likely to ask. If you're walking into the hall, this person is a qualitative person, and you're doing a quantitative presentation, chances are they will be questioning a number of things. Are we together? So you must have that information. And then your project work, look at your cover and primary pages, your abstract, your dedication, your certification and acknowledgement. Be sure when I finish, 1 more or 2 more. Be sure everything is where it should be. Get your diagrams and your tables in the right places. Ensure that your appendices and your references. Remember, your appendix is not a part of the work, so it usually comes after your references. Your numbering of the pages ends with your references normally. Are we together? So you must take note of those arrangements. Then the formatting. What's the PG school format? How is the work supposed to be formatted? What 5.1 is what? 5.2 is what? Those things you must follow them as they have been asked of you. Proofread for grammatical errors or omissions. And then dress rehearsal with your friends, your siblings, your spouse, or your hero. Okay? You can never overdo this. I've said this before. Practice can never be too much. So you must pay attention to it. Now, your siblings and your friends, your family, your spouse, they laugh at you. But it's okay. Are we together? Sometimes they will even understand what they're talking about. But that's also confidence building on its own. Your even attempt to try to explain to them is additional knowledge for you. Because your work is not possibly going to be read by just professors. When you're done, you will possibly be invited to come and talk about your topic somewhere. And in your audience will not be academics. There may be a water leaf woman there who you must also communicate to. And you're talking of emotional security. And she's not understanding emotion will be physical, and you will take security. Not any mistakes that you find in the work. Even when you have submitted, you will find a mistake and error. Underline it, note it. Find what the correct thing should be and know it. Because when you show up, somebody may pick it up and take you on and go. There's a part here in your work that says so and so. So if you haven't known that that's a mistake, then there will be a problem. All right. I think I'm done. This is just to talk about reference and why it's important. Please, plagiarism is wrong. It's an act of fraud. Do as much as you can because you're going to run your work through the plagiarism test. Okay, we shouldn't snap too much. I'll send this to you. So these are different forms of plagiarism. When you submit somebody's work as a whole, when you copy words from someone else without giving credit, when you also fail to put quotation mark where there is supposed to be a quotation mark, when you give incorrect information about the source of information, a lot of us do that one, especially if you visit a website or you got an information and you can't, please note this one. When you're doing citations from websites, note that you must indicate the day you access that page. Yes. What some of you do is that you read the thing from an article and the person has cited a website and that work was done in 2010. You will copy assessed June 9th, 2010. You already have given yourself away because you had not even started MS, not the top of PhD by 2010. And your citation has to be at least in the last 1 year while you have been in this work. You can't bring your citation from masters or PhD, or MPhil as the case may be. Are we together? Now, when you also copy so many words or ideas from a source, such that it makes up the majority of your work and fundamentally changes the thinking, that could also, without giving credit, that could also be a form of plagiarism. How do you avoid it? Cite sources properly. Cite sources using the approved reference, provide sufficient information, and then all sources cited must be listed in the reference list at the end. Now I need to say that about presentation. If in the course of your presentation, in the body of the presentation, you cited Basho, you cited Margaret, you cited Olu, Harry, Inka, Shitu, and all of that, they must be in your reference list at the end of that presentation. Are we together? Are we together? Yes. You must include it at the end of your. This is in-text citation. Some examples. So if you're starting like this, maybe the reference is at the beginning. That's how you could start it. You could also use this. You see the difference between this and this. What's the difference? Number. And that's why there's a quotation mark. So this is what was lifted from this work. The second approach is you could put it at the end. And then you could also, if I read Freeman inside of Lebura's work, you cite it this way. What you're basically doing is to externalize the responsibility. See where I see this thing. Are we together? Yes. Because if you just cite it directly, and you cite it out of context based on what you read from Lebura, then there's problem. Because somebody can take it on and say, Freeman never said that thing that you wrote there. Then by then you now go, let me be honest, I didn't read Freeman. It was actually from Lebura. Okay? For your reference list, that's how you will notice that this is for an article. The title of the article is to be italicized. Okay? We have a slight change now with this. I think for seventh edition, I think you no longer put either place or the publisher. One of them has gone. Huh? Which one is gone? You take out the place. It's only publisher now. So you need to check that and be very, very certain. So all of these other ones, this is what I was talking about. Okay? Assessed so and so date. Thank you. All right, I need to show you something. Yes, while you're asking your question, let me bring up. Okay. Yes.
My supervisor said it's wrong. I should move it.
Sorry. Carry on. You guys gotta wait.
My first supervisor said I should move it entirely.
You shouldn't do it.
I should move that.
The website.
The website. I should move it entirely.
Your first supervisor. Who's your first supervisor? Who? Say she will move.
That's website.
Okay, don't take my word for it. Do a simple search on Google and ask how to reference web materials using APA 7th edition. Whatever it gives you, you take. Huh? Web links. What do you do web links? That's what I'm saying now. So, but you can't do a citation of a web and not put the URL. Because this is what will take us to where you're saying you saw that thing. It's like the idea is that if we get into a library and we're looking for articles, we will be searching for International Journal of Business. We will not be looking for Lebura. Because you won't find Lebura on the shelf. Did you get what I just said? What you will find on the shelf will be International Journal of Business. Then you will now look for volume 4, issue 13. You will look for the year 2013. Once you have seen that volume and issue and that year, you will now search for this page to now get to confirm that it's Lebura. If it's a book, you are going to be searching for fraud in Nigeria. You will see that this is italicized. You look on the shelf, if you see plenty Hamilton, you will now look for this particular one. In some cases, you may have 2012, A and B. Are we together? You did 2 different publications that same year. In some cases, you may have the same publication. Fraud in Nigeria, 2nd edition, 3rd edition. Maybe in 2014, there was another book that came out. So the same kind of thing, like when you do chapter, you will not be looking for the chapter, you will be looking for research methods for management sciences. And that's why it is the one that is italicized. Does that make sense? I think I should stop there. So I've told you what I think you can do is go check so that you're basically not arguing with him about anything. Now this is an example of my paper presentation at the Academy of Management Conference. So I have an outline, introduction, theoretical review, conceptual, because this was not a complete work. Okay, but for you, you may not need the outline. Are we together? You may just have the next thing after your outline as introduction. And that's what my introduction looks like. Now, when you're doing introduction, for instance, you're not supposed to, for instance, you can do 1 or 2 authors. Remember that the majority of the authors should come in your literature review. And you must have that same thinking, basically. So anyone you're putting on that introduction must be fundamentally important to the conversation. Because all you're doing in your introduction is to lay the background. Remember, for the research work, your thesis, there are components of the introduction chapter. Are we together? Once you've dealt with the background of the study, you dealt with the statement of the problem. You indicate research questions. So here, for instance, you may have one line research questions. They can be sub-points. So you have background of the study, then you have a bullet point under it. You have a statement of the problem, then you indicate a bullet point and just write the main point from your statement of the problem. Then you come to research purpose, right? You indicate your purpose. It's important to say what the purpose of the work is and indicate that there are maybe 3 or 4 objectives that will help us drive that purpose of the study. And then you move on to research questions and indicate there are 9 or 6 or 7 or 3 research questions as the case may be, which will further be operationalized by 6 of the hypotheses. It is important to add that the scope of this work will take into consideration the geographical, the content, and then what we call it now, the scope of the unit of analysis. And for this study, our unit of analysis is micro. Then you move on. You enter the next chapter. Okay? So this is not necessary, but the idea here is basically to say that you know what you're doing. Like I said, started with triple helix model, right? Now, in explaining this, I can do more with this, but indicating that all of these authors have talked about it, the idea of the triple helix model. Are we together? Entrepreneurial orientation, first proposed by Miller as a strategic posture or behavior. Okay, but beyond that, the dimensions have later been expanded by the likes of Covid and Selby. It's like in 1989. So every time you're looking at the board, it's just a reminder of what you already know. And that's why that reading is more than important. Because if you don't know what is contained in the work, even when someone helps you to design a PowerPoint, you will be confused. Now this one said, this boy just like this thing short. You have to start short. Yes. No, for this, I'm just giving you an idea. You're not using this one. Of course, you won't be using this diagram. Your own, you're going to have theoretical review or literature review. Then you have the bullet points. Under it, you will have the bullet point. The first one will be theoretical review. Then you have the 3 theories. You just indicate the 3 theories, put the names of the authors in bracket beside it. Then you move to conceptual review. You indicate the 2 or 3 concepts that you are going to be discussing. Maybe indicate the key authors that contributed to the likes of Schumpeter and Drucker have contributed so much to competitive strategy. And specifically Schumpeter have talked about strategy as blah 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 blah. If you can talk about one person's work, a major author's work on that concept, you're good. You move on to the next person. Are we together? So it's not necessarily going to be as worded as what you have here. So you see what I've done here now. This is not all there is to these 2 concepts. But in presenting this, I may not even be reading up all of these things. In reality, for your presentation, this is even too much. Are we together? Because you have a full work. This is not a complete work. It was just based on literature review. So, yes, question.
2 more lines.
On is it part of your work? What's your topic?
And strategic decision making. It's small and medium scale firms. But now it's like I'm running into a problem.
What's the problem?
The problem I'm running into is like operation is too large.
Who's your first supervisor?
It's good. Because now we're talking about it. Our population is too large.
What's the size of your population?
I have 4.7 million. No way as population.
Yes.
Then some population are working on. I'm working on 745. 745.
745 watts.
745 managers.
What's your unit of analysis?
And
Macro or micro?
it's macro.
Why is it macro?
Macro because in such organization, for example, decision making. And decision making.
How many managers from one company did you take? The presentation has started. Though.
Yes.
How many managers from one company?
Managers, one from each.
One from each company. So technically, you are actually working with 745 companies.
Which now
Your respondents are 745 managers from 745 companies. Okay.
and I discovered that based on that population,
Yes.
it's still high. Because I use Morgan and
French and Morgan.
Morgan.
Those names you people need to know them.
And the
You can't do Morgan and M. Okay. Taroyamen, French and Morgan. Those are the two you use for sample size determination. Yes.
And I discovered that the massive on the scale at above 1 million.
Yes.
That the value is about 300 something.
Okay.
But meanwhile, I'm not happy it's 7.5.
Okay, so try Taroyamen and see what number it gives you against that your population size. The second thing I would like to say is that sometimes you need to introduce criteria that eliminates some of those companies.
That's where I am.
So you need to do that now. You can narrow it into a sector, right? So that when you are now talking about your work and you're doing the scope, you are indicating that while you're looking at SMEs, you are not looking at all SMEs. You're looking at SMEs that have been in operation for so and so number of years. Now, what definition of SMEs are you using? Is it the Smithern definition? What size of company? Is it every company that has between 2 persons to 100 that you're using? Or you're just limiting yourself to companies that have between, say, 20 or between 50 and 100 employees? By the time you introduce those two, there's no way your population will be the same. Entrepreneurial orientation. Yes.
Because it's ice planning.
1 minute, just 1 minute. Hold that to I think we'll have a conversation. So let's
This one, I put this class.
session of prayer.
I wanted to get more references, more references. So
all right, so yes, it is not done. So finish your question. Let's take a small refreshment. We are bringing the snack, yeah, from alongside. I would have brought food, but
There's a place called the head table.
So just make it okay. Just take your flavor.
Inga wants to take your position. Imagine. Yeah.
Don't be the
But
flavor.
it's not always help the class.
Carry on.
It's just I need more reference.
I want to help.
More.
That one.
Entrepreneurial orientation.
Yes.
You have too much references for entrepreneurial orientation. Come later, let's talk.
Yeah, that's what we do.
I can pass to Margaret, but you have my number for as one of your supervisors.
She's
That
a small.
is. Any other question? Yes. Debbie, you have the hand up.
Yes, sir, please, I would like to know the timeline that we have to do everything, and this time we're expected to do departmental, are we doing slides, and this time we're doing faculty, are we doing slide presentation?
Okay, so
Notes.
this information is for everybody. For all your remaining presentations,
Tammy, please give us. Sorry.
give a lot. Don't be very well. Now, for all your remaining presentations, you're going to be doing slides. Prepare your slides for all your remaining presentations. Whether they will give you time to use it, let it be their decision. Be ready for whatever comes. In terms of timelines, I think this is going to almost be the first time you're going to have only departmental defense in the whole of first semester. Because in the past, we used to have seminar, proposal, and defense in first semester year 3.
Yes.
You understand?
But
But now we have changed that because you have done seminar and proposal in second semester of the 2. So, HOD, then HOD. Yes.
Like, yeah, not the.
Then HOD has talked about, let's not distract me. Yeah. Now, he had talked about changing it in a way that you have more time for field work and your analysis so that we can get value from the work. And that's how we arrived where you are now. So, some point, maybe after 1 month or so, the semester lasts for about 12 weeks. So, a month is 4 weeks. So, you're looking at about 3 months for the whole semester. So, I'm thinking that maybe after a month plus or 2 months, you may now have, fortunately for us, we're not having an entirely different person coming in to take over as HOD. We have somebody who has been a part of the system and understands what we do. So it's just going to be building on that. It's really not going to be disrupting a lot. Of course, he will bring his own personal style and his own experience to the role. So that's what will happen for first semester. The second semester is now likely going to be jam-packed because when you come there, you should be doing faculty, internal, and external, all in the second semester. But of course, those ones, with all due respect to those levels, I do not think you have the level of rigor you will get at the departmental level. Are we together? Because, so the other place where you're going to be having some pressure will be external. Because most times, depends on the external examiner, he's going to come and earn his money and show that he's deserving of whatever is being paid. Please, I need questions. What are managing refreshments?
So in this first semester now,
Yes.
so we're looking at
Maggie, please send to those online, yeah?
Yeah.
we're
The
looking
picture
at
will do. Okay. So, take note of that. Yes.
so like in this first semester now we're looking at like March for departmental.
What or before March? What or before March? You understand? Because technically, the semester started on Monday.
On Monday, I started.
Yes, this Monday that passed. But official, in practical times, they started from this coming Monday. So anytime between now and February, I expect that they will call you. Yes, that's the full work, chapter 1 to the end. So please, what I want us to do is if you have, I'm hoping, I'm expecting questions. I expect you to ask me questions today. Ask as much as you can. And then so that by next week, when we see for the presentations, what I will just be doing is sit down and put it to you, basically. And attack you as much as I can, shred you into pieces like the day in the band, and make sure that you come out better and stronger by the time you're coming for defense. Okay? Yes. Now, if after these sessions you want us to do private practice, I'm available. But that one costs more. Yes, that one costs more. Yes. Your thoughts, supervisor. Who's your second? Who's the first? Okay. So when we get back to Monday now, if you are around now, come see you. See that answer, but you will have that breakdown.
Sorry, for me, I have one question. Right.
Yes, carry on, Nixon.
Okay, I said during the seminar,
Yes.
a lot of very common questions. Common questions from so different students, different. And one of the questions like,
Listen now.
Listen,
Waiting they finish.
No, we're talking about meat pie.
Meat pie.
Okay. Please listen to the question. Go ahead.
What do you want? Yogurt or juice? Who wants now? You say it's okay, it's okay. There's juice here.
So that one is the code.
No. This one I'm not taking. I'm not taking it.
So my children in the house now. Take home. My children in the house.
If I catch on my hair,
Can you carry on?
I think it's on the living glass. It's my love.
that's why I'm drinking my yogurt.
Yes.
Leave me
and
alone.
this my idea is coming from the questions that was asked during the
Seminar,
You
yeah.
can wear it.
now the question that were asked, they all got different answers.
These are on online people.
How many
Ratings.
variables are you researching on the process? How many variables are you researching on? Variables. There is another way to answer the process of research methodology. And then the other question and then on that, what was the research methodology? And then
What did you tell them?
I told them the first question was what's your data type? And I said it was primary data. And I said what vector of research are you able to use? And I told them it was graded. You now ask for the decision graded the type of ones. So there I was forced because I had